I forgot to unmute everybody. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. How is everyone?
Oh, I'm
Good.
feeling pretty dandy.
That's delightful.
It does feel that way.
I gotta say, Yoli, body parts, and I'm here. Yeah, you have to know the backstory on that one. Um, yeah, we had a whole episode of body parts,
Did you
and
really?
yeah, we did.
Without me?
Yes, missing body parts.
Oh,
And
brother.
okay, what do y'all think of my background? Like, I feel like I have antlers. I was trying to like make it a little bit more fall.
No, I mean I like it. I think that it fits well. I mean, it's nice.
My antlers?
Yeah.
They definitely do like look
I'm
like
not
antlers. But I like
yeah.
them.
I'm not convinced that you're not a Wendigo still, so.
Oh, can everybody hear okay? Is somebody too loud? Because I always notice when I'm trying to get the right composition here, but I always notice that somebody is not loud enough or too loud. Hello, Daniel Barry. Whoop whoop. Ruckman dude. Hello, hello. Yeah, I do have antlers, don't I? Okay, good, good. I'm glad y'all are getting this. Okay. Um, like I am super kind of psyched about what we're talking about today because oh my god, this is like I'm learning stuff. First I got mad and then I got I don't know. I got confused and then I had to research and then I was like, ew, I don't know about all this. Hello, warning label Nina. I love that name. How are you doing? Shay Watson, hello, hello. Good to see you. So, did y'all have a whole lot of time to really? I know I sent you all this stuff, but and this goes so many different directions. Okay, um, what Yoli and I talked about a couple of months ago was body parts missing from a body in Alabama in jail. They returned the body without the heart. That was absolutely nutso. Um,
What'd they do with it?
well, they think it went to UAB for research, but UAB saying no, we had nothing to do with it. I don't know. I don't know. I need to follow up on that story, but it opened a whole can of worms about body parts and prisoners, and that's just the beginning. Okay, that's just the beginning because um y'all, did you know in some countries, and I've got an article about this. Do you know in some countries like they can just take your if you're a prisoner, they can just take your organs.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about it.
Don't break the law, I guess is the moral of that story.
Yeah.
Open season on it's weird to think that it's like, yeah, no, those aren't yours anymore. You broke our laws, so we get your kidneys. That's it's in the rule book.
Yeah. Oh, I want to say something before we get all in here. That intro music that you heard, it's the same video that I made last week, but that music was it's a complete original composition by Brain Bungler.
Hooray.
Yay!
Huzzah.
So I think he did a really good job. And next week, I think for sure we're going to be going to, hey, Bungler, if you have a link, put it in the chat for Humanetics. I think we're going to be going live from our actual Humanetics. We keep saying that every week, but here you go. And just for my people who are hanging out here, I have some great video ideas coming up. I just have to shoot them, and hopefully, I'll get one out by the end of the week. So, just want to let you know. Let's see. Yoli says we also talked about the UCI body program where the director was allegedly selling donated body parts, and you know why? Because like it is like people need them. It's supply and demand. There's a lot of people out here needing organs, and we don't have enough supply. So what do you do? And we're going to talk about that. Okay. So let me go to where I started on this. Now, this is actually a case from last year. All right. But let me make this bigger. So we're not in this situation. This is where it started, though. Okay. Can y'all see that? Okay. Do I need to? I can make it even bigger, right?
I see you.
Okay. I'm trying not to wear my glasses. All right. But
I'm trying to practice seeing better. That's what it sounded like.
I am too, actually. Okay, Massachusetts prisoners who donate organs may get less prison time. Now, a few years ago, I was thinking of moving to Massachusetts because I had been on Cape Cod and I just fell in love with it. And then I read this article and I'm like, ooh, I'm glad I didn't go. Not that I'm a prisoner.
But you never know, and you want to rest assured that if you break the law, that you won't be harvested for it.
Exactly. I mean, everybody has their wild, what if I went on a wild hair and I just, lost it? Look, I'm trying to stay out of jail. I work at a jail. I'm trying to stay out, but y'all know me. Like, it is not outside of the realm of possibility. I'm just
never
saying.
Can be too safe.
No. But so this was a bill that came up in 2023 that inmates should be able to donate organs or bone marrow in exchange for reduced time in prison. All right. Now, this is okay. Bone marrow you can do that at any time. Like, it is painful, but done in the right way, that wouldn't be a big deal. But organs. Now, so what do you think they get for their organs? 60 days off their sentence.
That's pretty rough because most organs sell for so I've actually, in a completely unrelated fashion, been researching common values of selling your body parts, whatever you can, and so most of them roughly average out to be around like 60 grand at least. So they're paying you, or they're saying that it's worth I don't know, dude. I don't make $1,000. I don't make $1,000 a day. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. I would figure that they'd stretch it out a little bit more. If they're going to pay people minimum wage, then they should, apply those hours to how many days you would get off your sentence. You know what I mean?
You would think something. I mean, I don't know. But first of all, let me just say this, and this is just the beginning of where we're going for those of you where it's not going to be a jail prisoner organ thing, although we are going to touch on that. All right. We're going to go other places too. But here is the thing. Here you go. It's in let me throw this up here real quick. That it's the Humanetics. Okay. I forgot.
Yeah.
It was the Humanetics.
Once there's content on there, just typing Humanetics should work, but because it's an empty channel, it's hard to find. So,
yeah, but just so you know, and I'll make an announcement next week. But all right, so I would say this, and Colton, you have worked in law enforcement, so what do you think? I mean, finding a good organ. What do you think's the likelihood of finding an actual clean organ?
Well, the vast majority of people in jail and prisons are due to nonviolent drug crimes. So most, well, at least where I live on a place. No, I won't say it.
No, tell everyone. I'm just kidding.
No.
Don't do
So
that.
let me tell y'all this though. Let me throw this up here. Warning label Nina is close to our area, in our area. Just FYI.
Cool. So near Alabama.
We're yeah. I've said it a million times, but not where we live, but yeah, Alabama. But okay, go ahead, Colton. Sorry.
Oh, well, most of these people, they have pretty big drug problems. So I would say there's not a great likelihood that you would find good lungs or good livers, stuff like that. But I don't know, this article you brought up, it's pretty interesting. I'm wondering. I didn't actually read the article. Does it say anything about what kind of organs would serve or would constitute
Well,
or for a bigger sentence reduction?
well, it would obviously be things that while they're alive, because after they're dead, they don't need time off their sentence. So it would be things like kidneys. Is you have two of those. I don't know if they could do, like, I know, bone marrow, they can do a lot of stuff with that for treatments. I doubt that anybody would want to give them an eyeball. What do we have two of? Things that we have two of.
Eardrums. Some people have two fingers. So,
Yeah. I don't think they're doing finger transplants.
you never know.
Another interesting point is people that are like serving their sentences, they're usually serving it to pay off, like a lot of times, like an amount of a fine of restitution. So say somebody owes like $1,500, they might have to serve so many days in jail to pay for it, and they get paid like on an average of like $50 a day. So if someone were to sell their liver for $200,000 or $100,000 or whatever, it seems kind of unfair to the prisoner to get only a year knocked off, when that obviously the organ is worth so much more. And it's also pretty crazy to exploit people that are in these situations. These people, most of these people I've met, they are very manipulative, but they will do, when they're on the street, they'll do anything for drugs. You can only imagine what they'll do for freedom when they're in jail. They'll do,
Yes. I'm not saying anything about a year. I'm saying 60 days, 2 months, 2 months. Yeah, I just wanted to look at that article again, but and maybe they would give them a little bit more. But first of all, there are a lot of undiagnosed diseases in jail and prison, things that their family would have no idea about, things that they might not even know about. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. The lifestyle is very dangerous. Let's just put it that way. So I'm not sure that harvesting organs from prisoners is that, is going to be that,
obviously
that
they'd have to
much.
be vetted and get, a lot of medical tests on them to see how useful they are. And I wonder, like, when people transfer organs, that how much has to relate between people. I know, like, people have certain blood types. What else? Like, what other kind of things have to match up?
I know that when you're, I know that, like, I forget the name of it, the rejection probability, it decreases a lot if you are related by blood and not just the blood type.
Yeah. But they have to take huge amounts of pills for the recipient of the transplant has to take heavy medications the rest of their life, anti-rejection drugs. Lara was saying kidneys, part of liver. Yeah, I started to say liver, but I wasn't sure. I know you can live without part of it.
Someone just said that you can get $60,000 for one of your baseballs if you're a guy. And that actually, I wanted to mention having seen that there because in my independent research, I found out that in Minnesota, the lowest you can sell it for is $3,000, and the only reason that number exists is because someone must have done it. I just thought you would like to know that.
I think every man is at one point considered selling a testicle.
Oh, for sure. I don't think I would be able to be like, I would throw me off balance being like 0.02 pounds lighter on my left side,
I don't know. I mean, I can't say I relate to any of this, but I
I
mean, you
mean,
know,
just imagine. Do you feel a void when you have a kidney removed? Do you like? Oh, whoa.
I don't know.
You
But
feel, do,
you would definitely be unbalanced selling a baseball. So I'm just saying.
fair.
Whoop. Yeah. But oh, hello, Mythical. Good to see ya. Let me go on down here. Who haven't I said hello to? Let's see. Let me catch up. Yeah. So but now, just so you know, because that was in February of 2023 that this bill was going, it being looked at in Massachusetts, because of the public outcry and people saying, eek. Basically, they walked that on back, and they're like, okay, so now they're not doing anything with that bill. But that does not mean that people are safe yet. Let me pull this one up, because now this is not our country, right? But we're going to start looking at, again, there is, let me just say real quick, this is very much a big thing. If you study into it, you will be horrified, as I was. Many, I'm not talking about just here and there, these weird headlines you hear, somebody goes on a Tinder date and wakes up in a bathtub of ice and they're missing a kidney. It does happen. But what
A
really
lot
happens,
more than you'd think, too. By the way.
yes, especially in other countries. And let me tell you something: the black market is a hot market to sell your organs. However, what usually happens is you might contract, and like, let's just pull a country out there, like in Colombia. All right, you may contract to sell a kidney. But what happens is they're like, okay, we'll pay you, but you end up losing, your heart, your other kidney, your liver. Like, they take whatever they want. Okay. Many times it is, and people are kidnapped, all kind of things. Like, this is huge, the black market for organs. So, Nina says, I want to know what the difference was between the 3,000 and the 60,000 one.
Confidence, baby. You got to sell yourself. I'm a single man. I'm a stud. I come from a great line, as opposed to, I'm really hungry. Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, okay, so my gene pool isn't that great. 3,000,
Yeah, no, it's probably not worth it. And I probably will never get married. I don't think, just take it, honestly. If you just want, if you want the other one for free, you get 2 for 1. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Mythical says my organs are old, so I'll just keep them.
Oh, but you could be the owner of a brand new Toyota kidney. I don't know.
Yeah,
we should get new ones. Do you think that? Oh, I'm never mind. I'm jumping ahead too far. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, but we'll get there. Angela C says, yes, so true. I started looking into this and blood and plasma things. It is a rabbit hole. Yes, it is. And so now remember, I'm not even going into conspiracies and rabbit holes. We're just like breaking the ice here with things that are currently going on and what they can do. So let me go ahead and show you this article. Now this is in China. This is from McMaster University. Okay. Unaliving prisoners for transplants. Forced organ harvesting in China. Oh my God. So at first I'm like, is this real? Because this is in July 29th of 2022. Okay. And so they're saying that although this practice occurs in many countries, the situation in China is particularly concerning. China is the only country in the world to have an industrial scale organ trafficking practice that harvests organs from executed prisoners of conscience.
Really?
Yeah.
I was just about to ask, what size does an organ harvesting farm have to be for it to be considered industrial?
I'm thinking there's a lot of organs. Like, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have the stats on that. It's not like, your local organ farmer.
Yeah, free range, locally harvested, grass fed.
These kidneys have seen the sunshine every day for the past year. They're just running around.
Oh, come on. That's not true for most people. That's a little incredulous.
Maybe in China. Maybe in
I would
China.
be a bit dubious to be like, I don't think no, there's no way. Seeing the sun
Organic
every
free-range
day.
organs.
Yeah, no. I'll get mine the old-fashioned way. I want to process. I want to know where they come from. It's a factory.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right. So, to understand forced organ harvesting, it is useful to consider a hypothetical scenario. A patient in Canada with end-stage heart disease is in need of a life-saving cardiac transplant. Doctors in Canada tell the patient he needs to go on the waiting list, which, if you know anything about that, it can take years. I mean, you probably will expire before you get an organ. The patient then finds a transplant program in China that can schedule a cardiac transplant from a compatible donor weeks in advance. Okay, so this raises the question, how can the hospital match this patient with a potential, I love the way this is worded, a potential deceased donor weeks in advance? I mean, aren't we all potentially going to decease? But
they're not dead now, but if you act fast.
For only $19.99. Act now.
You could be the owner of a new human life.
Supplies are limited.
Oh, brother.
I mean, yeah. Okay, so I'm reading this and like I'm like, this is not funny. It's mind blowing, and like I don't know what to do but sit here and just kind of giggle because like what, like I have that disease, where you cry, when you laugh at funerals. Like I'm bad about this, so this is horrifying to me. So please, nobody get offended. It's just beyond. Okay, so how did the hospital find this donor? How do they know when that donor will die? Yeah. Has the donor consented to have their organs harvested? Yeah. These are all things. Okay, so now the answers to these questions are: China uses incarcerated prisoners of conscience as an organ donor pool to provide compatible transplants for patients. These prisoners, or donors, are executed, and their organs harvested against their will and used in a prolific and profitable transplant industry. I mean, okay.
These aren't prisoners, are they?
Yeah, in China.
They're technically prisoners. It sounds like
citizens of a communist party, but not in a prison.
No, they're in a prison.
Oh, I thought these were people that were being tricked into going to China to get this transplant fast, and then when they get over there. Oh, okay, I'm misunderstanding. I thought they were getting over there and then getting all their organs taken out instead of the transplant they went over there for.
No.
That actually sounds like the better alternative to what is most likely the case.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the country. But no, like, it's just like, okay, so what they're doing basically is they have a pool of prisoners, okay? These, maybe they're, all life without parole, whatever. They have different ways of doing things. Maybe they're going to be incarcerated for life, or maybe they're already scheduled to be executed at some point. But if you are, you have been looked at, your blood type, your organs, let's see what's good, what can we harvest? They've got all these records on these prisoners, and they're like, okay, well, you know what? Like, we didn't know when you were going to die, but hey, there is a guy in Canada that really needs your heart. So, sorry, buddy. Your execution date has been moved from 40 years to 2 weeks, 2 days. I don't know.
It's so crazy to think.
Yeah.
I mean, see, that's the thing. You know, you were talking about it a second ago, and I wanted to bring it up, but like, you know, the whole thing in Massachusetts,
I know. Massachusetts.
Sorry, brother. It felt like, you know, it can devolve into like a classism issue. Meanwhile, China's like, oh, you don't look like a communist, so I'm taking your organs. I'm giving them to a real patriot. That just feels like it's a dangerous, you know. But I mean, you know, we talked actually last week about how advanced China is in their, you know, kind of stepping on human rights. Yeah. So, but I mean,
oh my
I don't know.
Look at, you know what? Wait. Here we go. This is the comment I wanted from Mythical. Oh my God, y'all, all that USA land they're buying, they're going to put one of them farms on it. Like, look, it's not impossible. I'm just telling you. This is horrific. Shay says some of them don't even get anesthesia. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Oh
I know in general, China is super strict on their punishments. I seen a video of today of a guy, drug trafficker, getting the death sentence. So
wow. So yeah, that is how, you know, you can buy an organ from China, and you know, and then there's so much that goes with organ transplant, not just the physical, but the spiritual, and let me just throw this out into the mix, because I have this come up on my other channel all the time when people are talking about near-death experiences or paranormal, whatever. I've had a lot of people tell me, as there are many documented cases, that when someone has an organ transplant, they take a lot of those characteristics of the organ donor. Sometimes things like, in one case, this woman was really like a health nut. She never ate anything fried, you know, all this kind of stuff. All of a sudden, after her transplant, she craved Kentucky Fried Chicken like crazy. Like, she was just eating, like, she couldn't get enough. It was like her new favorite food, terribly unhealthy. As when she learned about the donor was a young guy who had just left KFC, one of his favorite places. He'd just eaten, got on his motorcycle, and was going down the highway when he was in an accident, and he passed away, I think, pretty instantly. But it was just crazy. And I have like literal real people, okay, that email me and stuff and say, hey, you know, I noticed this with my uncle, or with this, or even with myself. Things changed.
Well, it'd be interesting to know like different circumstances. Like, as far as the first situation, I know there's like, if we're talking about your gut, there's bacteria that grows in there, and if you're eating like sweet, fatty, greasy foods all the time, it builds up like certain bacteria that makes you crave like the same kind of foods. Same way if you eat healthy, like you start eating fruits and vegetables, then you'll build like good bacteria and you'll crave those kind of foods. So I wonder if.
So you're telling me that the reason I'm out of shape is because I don't have the right organs?
The right bacteria in your gut. That's right.
Get a transplant from a vegan or something.
There you go. Shay Watson said, this is horrifying. I've never heard this. If Bill Gates has a say, he'll sell the organs and the meat. Like, we're going to eat people now?
Oh, what was that movie about Soylent Green? They dump people into an industrial grinder and they sell it as like an all-purpose yada, yada, yada.
I mean, I'd have to be starving. And I mean, I don't know. You know,
that's how I already view hot dogs, by the way. It's like I would have to be literally starving to death.
I love Nathan's. I love Nathan's and Hebrew Nation. They have good dogs. And I like, if I'm pressed, I will eat an all beef Oscar Mayer. I know it's probably the beef I don't want, but you know, it tastes
all
good.
Beef.
It's literally all the beef. So there you go.
Well, I have a couple questions to let float around in your noodles.
Okay.
Maybe conspiracies, you could say. What are the chances you think like these biotech companies, some of them are lobbying to try to get less strict regulation so they can do more organ harvesting? And also, what are the chances that they're using these to do secret studies, like making like human animal hybrid clones or just human clones, or maybe just trying to develop the perfect human, or like develop what they might call like the master race or something through like genetic engineering?
You go ahead.
No, I mean I've heard theories. I've heard a lot of conspiracy theories, especially on the hybrid stuff. I didn't know about the biotechnical companies though, like trying to make deregulate.
No,
Like, no.
that's a conspiracy. Well, that's just more of a question to you, or something to look into. If because I wouldn't be surprised. Like there's, obviously lobbyists in every field that kind of control the law and regulations. So maybe the biotech companies, some of them are lobbyists too. They might be, I mean, really in every industry, people are working to get things in their favor. It's just,
I mean, that's like a
capitalism in a free market.
Right. I mean, that's almost a no-brainer. I mean, at this point in, capitalist society, I wouldn't even say that that's inherently wrong or evil. You're literally just trying to cut a deal on your industry, decrease supplier costs and stuff like that. Like that's, very likely. For what purpose? I don't know. And like the human animal hybrids, I mean,
I've heard it's a conspiracy government, but I've heard it so much. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any proof. Okay.
I just want a tail, I just want a tail back. Do you have any idea? There's so many useful things if we had control of them like monkeys do, And think of the fashion that would change. You would be able to accent different colors with the tail that you cannot actually put into human clothing right now. The fashion industry would completely change.
I've thought long and hard about if we had tails, and would they have hair? Would we tattoo them if they didn't?
Oh, gross. Imagine they didn't have hair.
Well,
that would be disgusting.
I'm thinking. It's skin. Why would it have hair?
I mean, why do you have hair on your noggin?
Well, I mean, but I would think there's a bad place for hair. I don't know. But that is a whole nother discussion. I have had a very long conversation with people if we still had tails. But
what augment would you take? If you could choose one, if you could be part animal.
Oh, I'd want a big fluffy tail. I'd want a big.
I mean, would you pick tail? Would you pick gills? Like, I don't know. Would you have like a surgically long neck like a giraffe? Maybe turn your arms into bird wings, or I mean.
You never know when you're going to need gills, though. Like, say you go off the road.
Well, the problem with gills is that you have to constantly be, they have to stay moist. Yeah, you have to, anyway. No. Colton, preferences, thoughts?
No, I zoned out. Sorry.
Okay, wings for me. Wings for me. All right. Okay. Okay, but let's go on. Yeah, I know. Nina had sent me an article, or she's doing a story on 220 deaths in Ohio jails, and wondering if all the bodies had all of their body parts. You have to wonder now. You really do. Just the thing that I've seen in the Alabama prisons, which is, of course, different than regular jail. But yeah, what are they doing? What are they doing? And, unless somebody does an autopsy, or somebody mentions it, oh, hey, did you know your loved one, they took his heart? Because probably at the funeral parlor, they're probably thinking, okay, this person obviously has had some organs removed. They were an organ donor. They're probably not questioning that. Like, they're just getting them ready, I guess. I mean, I don't know.
So here, I can't remember. We might have talked about this before, but earlier this year there was a case. I can't remember if it was. I want to say Mississippi, but I'm not sure. whereas a prison, and they had built a graveyard out back, and they were burying people, and they had hundreds of tombstones, and
Yeah.
a lot of these people, their families had no idea that they were dead, and some of their body parts had been reported missing.
Right. Right. I did do a.
Were
Did
there
I
no
do a
lawsuits about all that? I mean, that's like
I
that's
need to look
dystopian.
back into it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy to see it happening here, like in the United
Right.
States.
Right. Wasn't that with the bodies buried? Wasn't that like in Georgia? It was a neighboring state to Alabama, if I'm not mistaken. Oh,
Yeah,
Mississippi. Mississippi.
yeah.
Anita's saying.
Quick question: if you could choose, so it would seem that it's possible, at the very least, that our government is. So, if you had to choose between the two styles of government, where in China's case, it's very outright, very blatant. You know that if you cross the line, they're essentially going to do whatever they want with you. Or would you prefer it like it would maybe potentially seem to be the case here, where they're going to do what they want, but they're going to do it in the shadows? Like, which do you think you prefer? Like knowing the enemy that you face, or being like, well, maybe.
Oh, but definitely. Well, I'm honestly curious why, like, the Chinese don't revolt against their government, knowing all. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of propaganda.
Sure.
Yeah, and I mean, they're so controlled now. I mean, it would definitely be difficult.
If somebody even thought about starting a revolution, it would, the way they're tracked, 22 million cameras or something.
Yeah.
Imagine what kind of stuff they got going on in North Korea, where there's no one can see in and no one can see out.
Yeah, there was a guy who went and did an interview. The biggest takeaway was the people believe that America is the source for all their problems. They hate America more than anybody else.
Really?
And, yeah.
I don't even know those guys.
Okay, some of the larger hospitals, Shay says, have organ procurement offices right on site in the basements between ER and the morgue. Now, I know some of the hospitals I've worked at, I know when somebody passes, if we have to know right from the get-go if they're an organ donor, and we're immediately on the phone, and they come. They do take, I don't know where they take the body. They don't do it in the room. They may do the eyes in the room, though. But the other things, I don't know if they take them to OR. I don't know where they do it. I never really asked where they did it. Of course, that was all voluntary. Yoli says a lawsuit where the hospital lost their loved one's body. They were missing for a year and then found out they were dead. I'm not understanding that. Like, if they were already dead.
But how are they missing for a whole year before you realize your family member's gone?
Exactly.
If my family member was in the hospital, I'd be there every day, or
Yeah, and like, where did they go? It took a year. I mean, that's crazy. That is crazy.
I mean, it could just be one of those cases of like the opposite of the prodigal son. It's just like someone who's left their family, and you don't hear from them for a while, and then you're like, hey, wait a minute. Where is his liver? That whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what happened in Alabama. I mean, it was messed up, and I'm not going to go through that because I did a whole live stream on that case. But it was absolutely crazy how the family didn't know what was going on. They never gave permission and all that. I'm going to go back to, hold on, let me look back at this article for a second. So because of all this going on and the way that they harvest, their organ farms, it's a human rights investigation. Of course, in my opinion, China's going to do what they want to do. But when they were looking at, it says they had recorded phone calls from the hospitals to surgeons and prisoners. The final conclusion was issued in March of 2020 and confirmed beyond reasonable doubt that China had been using executed prisoners of conscience as a source of transplant organs for many years. So there you go.
Proven without a doubt that they've been doing it for many years, not that they had just been doing it for some time, but that
right. I mean, we don't know. We don't know how long.
But that's what the article said, right? Those are the words it chose.
Yes.
Quote, for many years it was proven. Because that's
for
a
many
lot more
years
harrowing.
right there. Yeah. Yeah. How long have they been doing this? So yeah, that's the thing. And okay. And I want to say in all of the things that we're going to look at, okay, because there are many different answers to where are we going to get these organs that we need so badly. And a lot of them I say, oh my God, no. And then, you know, I turn around and I think if it was, you know, my children, I mean, you know, there'd probably not be as many ethical questions. You know, like, you know, you got a heart, good. I'll take it. I mean,
Fair.
I don't know how I mean, this is the thing is where do you draw the line?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, let's say a prisoner. All right. I imagine they don't stay as long in prison in China as they do in the States, because you could be, you know, on death row for 20 years, 20 plus years, you know, appeal. And then finally, you know, they've taken care of you all these years. And now here you are finally going to execution. So if you know that somebody is going to, maybe they confessed, I don't know. Like, if you're going to execute them anyway, I'm just throwing this out here. I'm not saying it's okay. So please don't.
I'm sure that's how it started.
But if you're going to execute them anyway and they have a good heart and can save a life, is that unethical? And where do you draw the line?
It would lead to unethical practices by human nature. People would, you know, a system like that would, you know, they would probably sentence a lot more people to death row if they knew that was the outcome.
It would encourage people to do the worst for sure. I mean, the thing is, you know, people say all the time, oh, history goes in circles. You got to look at the past to learn what's going to happen in your future. And people say it all the time and no one ever does. But do you guys remember Unit 731? It was this, you should check it out or absolutely don't check it out. Japan during World War II conducted a series of experiments that to understand human biology and its characteristics and what the human body is capable of. And it is absolutely the worst possible. It's horrifying. It's simply horrifying. And people are like, that's crazy. Anyway, and then now, you know, it's like, it's not like it's exclusive to Japan. It's not like the depravity or the greed of, you know, humans is going to be like, you know, localized to a particular region. You know what I mean? And I think that, you know, it's crazy to think that it's crazy to just assume that people are better than to do that kind of thing. You know, or look at the Salem witch trials. You know, people are like, my neighbor's really loud at night. I probably a witch, you know, it's like, it's just one of those things. I think.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with Colton. Even if it wasn't unethical because they were going to be executed anyway, it would, I think, absolutely human nature being what it is and greed being what it is, they would absolutely say, okay, well, you know, let's just get the judge to say, you know, no appeal. You know, we don't
it
care
would
about
at least
the facts.
put more
we need your
pressure
heart.
on the scale. You know, it would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to take into account human nature when you judge any of these kind of things.
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that are great in theory, but in practice they're really quickly manipulated and, you know,
like communism
used to exploit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for example.
Well, you
When
know,
I
it's like,
first learned of communism in school, I think I was like in 4th grade. I was like, why doesn't everyone do this? This is the best idea that I've
Exactly.
ever heard. And then I saw the history of every communist country that's ever existed, and I got really sad.
Yeah.
well, I don't know if I look at it the same, but I look at socialism as like the government helping the people, and the more the government helps the people, the more socialist the government is. And they're and that's another thing that's also great in theory is you know, taxing the rich and all the poor having health care and all this. The problem is in reality you have to take into human nature, like I mean the what I was saying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
so
no.
sorry.
I mean,
Yeah.
no, right though. I mean, there are so many altruistic ideas and potentially great ideas that often get put into practice or start to be applied before anyone sits down and looks at, you know, probable path of it, you know, taking like a harrowing turn, you know. So
Yeah. And I saw I just want to bring this up. I saw Carol Stanhope in the chat, and you know, she knows a lot about government experiments. If you're still here, Carol, have you ever heard in any of your CIA experimentation stuff about hybrids or making hybrid humans with animals and that kind of stuff? You know, it's out there. It's out there, but yeah, and Lara says to Colton, it says quick slippery slope into eugenics. Yes, it is. It is.
Yep.
Several of y'all are talking about some of the cases where they've found body parts. Like one case was out in the desert that was fairly recently, and then like years, like it's been a bunch of years ago now, y'all, bunch of years. But this was in also a neighboring state of Alabama. It was, I want to tell you Tennessee because I was working in Tennessee at the time. And there was a guy that had a funeral parlor. I guess he said he was cremating all these bodies and all this. Well, you know, he had a bunch of land. Eventually, I don't know what tipped him off. I can't remember, but when the law enforcement got there, that he was just taking these people's family members and throwing them like in these mass graves, and some of them were just laying all over the place. And you know, he was just basically giving them bags of sand or something and saying, "Oh, here is your relative," and he never actually did anything. And you would think that the prison sentence would be really long for that, but as it turns out, best I remember, it wasn't nearly what it should have been. So yeah, I mean, just think how people do now. And these bodies, these people are already passed away. You're not harvesting organs. So can you imagine? Um, oh my gosh, there's an area in Canada where feet keep washing up on the shore and they haven't been able to identify. Oh my God.
guess it's time to make a necklace.
A foot necklace?
Well, toes. I mean, probably the feet. It'd be, you'd only be able to get a couple on
You
there.
are so macabre. Ugh. Okay.
Sorry.
Carol says, yes, chimeras. Am I saying that right, Carol? Chimeras. The island of Dr. Moreau is loosely based on Plum Island, in my opinion. Well, there you go. And see, that's where probably a lot of this stuff comes from. You know, these conspiracy theories that you eventually find out really weren't a conspiracy. All right, but now, so let me go to another one. So it came to, I started looking at stuff. Let's see. All right, we're not going to look at that one anymore. They basically, okay, here we go. They were basically saying, okay, we're not gonna do what China's doing, okay, because Massachusetts couldn't even get them to, you know, comply at all. So, you know, it brings up this question. Finding a solution. Let me make this a
to
little
the
bit bigger
organ
too.
shortage,
There is an
which is-
organ shortage.
which is odd that that is a term because everyone is born with the amount that they need and some spares. So
Well, I mean, you only have one of some things, though. You only have one heart, you know. So you know they're looking at. I'm just gonna get down here because this is where we're going. Like, you know, where they're saying that's probably not gonna. We're probably not gonna get to where China and is, and I'm like, yeah, right. Let's
guys,
just
don't
keep-
worry. We have a clear and plain example of how horrible and terrible this can be. And we're not going to do that right now. Don't worry.
now.
That's you'll be long gone before we figure
But
out
in
an efficient
2025,
means. Yeah.
um,
Go ahead.
let's see. Well, I thought this one was the one of okay.
I think I know what you're attempting to bring up. I also wouldn't leave that image on the screen for too long. Just you know.
Yeah. One of the things, if you didn't know, some things are taken from cadavers. Some people didn't know that. Some are willing donors. You know, I'm not going to drop down anymore. All right. I don't even know what part of this, but I read this whole thing. And so, like, you know, yeah, basically they're trying to maximize. Okay, how are we going to do this? Y'all, we have a problem. We have too many sick people, not enough organs. Cadavers, not good for, you know, hearts, things like that, unless you're Dr. Frankenstein, I guess. So, you know, so what are we going to
Great book, by the way.
yeah, you were telling me about that. By the way, y'all, and I know someone who Mythical brings up donating your body for science.
Wasn't there a whole conspiracy that, like, if you are an organ donor, that they're more likely to be like, "Yeah, let him pass"?
There is. I mean, I've heard that. I don't know that that's true. Of course, I've never worked at a hospital that I don't know that they were.
The thing is about a conspiracy like that is that there's so many people involved with that decision. There would be the EMT, and then there'd be, you know, whatever, trauma response, and then there'd be the nurses, and then the doctor himself. Like, it's like there's so many people that they could be like, yeah, we'll just give it to somebody else. You know, it feels hard to believe.
I think it would be harder in the United States because of the ethical attitude of certainly some doctors and a lot of nurses who would know by looking at the labs and everything else, would know, it would definitely question. Okay.
We have a lot less censored media also, and, you know, social platforms are a lot less regulated than other countries. So, like, countries like North Korea, for example, they have their own, like, internet service. Like, everybody has, like, if you have a phone, you get one of their phones. They have an app on there for the internet or everything. You know, all these are like apps, and the whole internet is controlled by the North Korean government.
God bless. You know, it's
Wow.
you know, it's crazy, the monopolization of, you know, local internet companies. You know, like, if you live in an area that only has Comcast, you know, good luck getting through to support. I can only imagine if it's literally countrywide, one provider, what the wait time for getting a technician out to your house must be like.
Yeah, exactly. Jeez. But still, yeah. I mean, here, if something like that happened in the United States, and let's just say there was one doctor in one hospital that had a really large percentage of organ donations, and all of a sudden he's driving a brand new Maserati, you know, things are a little suspicious. One of them nurses, they're going to get on TikTok and they're going to say, guys, y'all, this is what I think is happening. I'm a nurse at a hospital, and like, look, somebody's gonna get it. Like, they're gonna get up for story time. Like, somebody's gonna blow that whistle.
You can be monetized for whistleblowing. You know, like, there's,
Yeah,
I mean, there's incentives for knowing things.
yeah. So I think it would be a little bit harder here to do that.
But
Has it ever played into a doctor's psyche? Probably.
Your question of if there's not enough organs, where we're gonna get them? I think really, I think the only ethical thing is what we do now, which is if you have one, you can volunteer to give it up or sell it, and that's the only ethical solution. Um, whether somebody's dying or not, they have that ability. And I guess there could be a separate conversation on if somebody's like in a coma or something, and the family decides to pull the plug after 10 years, and then what do we do with the organs? You can't ask the consent of the person themselves, whatever. But there has been, I don't know how many of you guys have seen the movie Sound of Freedom, but it came out last year.
Yeah.
It hasn't got a lot of media coverage. A lot of people are skeptical and say the reason for that might be because the people in power don't want it to be seen.
Exactly.
But the movie was written by I don't know some guy in the military. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And actually the guy that played this one in the movie was actually the same guy who had portrayed Jesus of Nazareth in the movie Passion of the Christ.
Jim Caviezel.
Yeah. And so he was the guy who played in this movie, and it shows basically them going into all these like different camps and trades, like where people are, he said that people are like kidnapping all these young children, young children, and then they rape them, impregnate them. And
you
when
can't
they have
say
babies,
those words.
oh
my
okay.
God. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
They SA them.
Yeah, they SA them. And anyways, when they have babies, they take these babies and sell them for their organs. They sell them for sex. They sell them for satanic ritual abuse. And apparently all of this has been documented on video, and they play all this is in the movie. So I think it's just kind of interesting. Maybe that's one way that they're finding a lot of these organs, because the way that he describes it is that it's getting so big that it's almost as big as the drug trade, which you can imagine. The drug trade is massive. So how does these things go on? How is there a whole market for these things that are this big that they don't completely go undetected? But most people would kind of think you're a conspiracy theorist if you were to say these things.
True. A while back, I think right at the turn of 2020 or so, the FBI was investigating the head leader, not really the leader, but the one with the most powerful website for the black market, and they got a hold of him and they took siege of that website, and then they ran it for a little while. And I wondered if they got a penchant for of the profitability of all those kinds of things.
Controversy too. A lot of these websites like child essay
cheese pizza
content.
Almost.
Yes, a lot of this content, like God dang it, I forgot what I was saying. Well, come back to me.
I'm sorry.
I didn't eat, guys. I didn't eat. Brains all over the place.
I did not see The Sound of Freedom. I purposely did not. I don't think my heart can take it. I've done a ton. For the last 10 years, I've done research online of things like this and interviews of people and stuff. I 100% believe that. I just I don't need a movie to tell me. And I didn't think I could handle saying that. But I think you're right. That probably does go with a lot of, especially the ritualistic part. Without getting into details, y'all can read between the lines, but it would, in a very sick way, from their thinking, it would be beneficial to do that, to harvest organs also, for several reasons that I won't get into. But yeah, it is happening everywhere. And so, now people are saying, okay, well, let's do this legally. Well, it's like somebody was saying in the chat, the law now gives the procurement agencies priority over the medical examiner. And what some people were saying earlier in the chat was like, basically, you may not say that you're an organ donor, like maybe you're planning to keep your organs and be buried with them, but you can be you can override that. Your family can, and perhaps these other people can, so that you don't actually, especially if you're younger or you just have a very healthy heart and they're like, no, she's not going to be needing that. We're just going to go ahead and take that. I don't care what she said.
I think the thing that annoys me the most about this entire concept is that, especially in the case of the of the passing and stuff like that, is that it would be so easy, given our current structure, to create a way to compensate the families of the people who are literally going to be donating their organs. Funeral costs are already outrageously and needlessly expensive. You could easily create a type of insurance that would allow you to have a massively reduced deductible, or some sort of payment and stuff like that. Just being on a list saying that, yes, you can have these, this is my medical history and all that, even saying that it's null and void if, you aren't taking regular doctor's visits and that they don't have a clear picture of your medical history. But instead of all of that, it's just, it's all, it's all shadow society and all this nonsense. And it's like, I hate conspiracy theories. It's just, the problem is it's just so inefficient to me, and it's like it's needlessly evil. If the way that all of this is occurring is true, it's so unnecessary because there is easily a way for both parties to benefit, and it's like.
But it is far more when it comes to things like Sound of Freedom. It is much more than organ harvesting. It is, well, first of all, you can't discredit the greed that some people have. For some people, greed is like a drug. I mean, they will do anything to get more and more and more and more. And so that is a driving factor. And then the other part of this is a complete, what is the word I'm looking for? Sick. I'm trying to look at the technical term, but it is an aberration of normal humanity. Okay. It is a very sick pleasure that people indulge in. You look at it, you just look at all the chomos and all the essays and all this stuff that happen. Like, we hear that happening even in our community. We're like, oh my God, that's horrible. But you hear it all the time. So you're kind of, but what you know about, that's nothing comparatively what is behind the scenes, and how dark do these motivations go? You say it's needless, and I agree, but for some people, that is how they live. That is their whole goal in life, is to hurt and cause pain. And so you have to understand that when you're talking about conspiracy theories and stuff, we're not talking about normal people. We're not talking about your neighbor down the street that,
Sure. And I will concede that there's a different world that, I won't say, like the global elite or some hidden party, but I'll say that at a certain point of wealth, things lose inherent value. And if you are addicted to that feeling, which it is almost required to be to reach this, financial status of being a multi-billionaire, greed is a huge factor. Once what do you get the man who has everything, and what does the man who has everything even want? And it's you could literally look at a psychological survey. You could literally see how easy it would be, like the whole Epstein thing. Like that's a prime example of it. Like is that necessary? Like is that even really, or is it just because you can? You know what I mean? So yeah.
Well, you think about. Go ahead, Colton.
Sorry, I didn't. Well, this is kind of an unpopular opinion. So I don't believe that people are born like inherently
really
good.
No, I'm just kidding.
They aren't. they aren't born good or bad. People are domesticated into ideas and behaviors. And one, I really enjoy Jordan Peterson, and he did analysis on. He's done quite a few on World War II and the rise of Hitler. And he talks in great detail about how a person could transform into someone like Hitler, and like how does someone become like this? And so that's why I think it's important for a lot of people to stay educated, and also there's a whole nother argument that religion is necessary, whether which religion it is, but that it's necessary for ethics and to keep morals. But if you don't understand yourself and understand how easy it is to be transformed into things that you don't want, I don't know. You have to.
Yeah, you brought up I'm going to go ahead and show this. Although y'all know, you were talking about, you sent me this video, and because it is Jordan Peterson, I'm going to play it, but I'm going to have to stop. Y'all know how that is. We don't want no copyright nothings. But you said it was what, about 3 minutes?
Yeah, I would just skip the first minute of the video if I were you.
Okay.
It's just an introduction.
Wait.
But I think it's the guy Tim. I think the guy in the video is Tim Bullard, which is the actual vet that went overseas and did all this.
Yeah, they were saying in the chat that there's a lot of controversy around him and stuff. Yeah, that there's some stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd have to look into it. It's interesting.
Let's see. Let me go about a minute in. All right, let's play this.
Yet another right-wing conspiracy. So please, why don't you walk us through what you know and help me understand, and everybody watching and listening, exactly what you think is going on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jordan. We're so grateful you take your time to do this with us. So I spent 12 years as a special agent, undercover operator with the Department of Homeland Security. Most of my time, 90% of that time, was spent investigating these cases, child crimes, child trafficking. And in fact, those numbers are correct. That are being, these are Department of Labor, UN, these are sources that, the best we have, that say that there's close to 6 million children or more who are forced into slavery.
Yeah.
Labor slavery.
Okay. I'm going to stop there for just a second. Also, did you all know?
The video is kind of quiet, by the way.
Yeah, because I'm talking. I have to stop it every once in a while. But look, here's the thing. Right before, oh my gosh, what was it? Something that just happened. Was it the Olympics? It wasn't the Trump issue. I think it was the Olympics or something recently, like the day before all the other controversy about God only knows what in the last couple of weeks. They discovered there are 290 missing children. Did y'all see that? I cannot remember what state that was. I was going to do a whole episode on it. But that is here.
Did you get a time span of how long?
I cannot remember. I have
missing
some of that
missing
in my notes.
100 years.
No. Like they were on the list of people that,
are currently missing, but
yes, that are supposed to be in the system. I don't know how long, but they're current cases, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, there are a lot of cases that get solved there's a lot of cases that get solved like 30, 40 years later. I wouldn't say a lot, but there are some. So,
yeah, but these were like legit missing people. Like, how do you lose 290 children? And then when it should be all over the news and stuff, no. Guess what? We're looking at some, crazy BS on there. All right, I'm gonna go and play just a little bit more of this.
slavery or organ harvesting. And I can attest that I have been involved in cases involving all three of those forms of slavery multiple times. And it's a serious matter. You know, the case, the story in Sound of Freedom kicks off with the rescue of a little boy at the port of entry at the southern border. That's a real story. Real boy that I was on that port of entry. I was 10 years on the southern border. So when you have 85,000 unaccompanied minors showing up in the last 2 years, being let into the country without the sponsor being vetted, DNA checked, background checked, you know, I call it the economy of pedophilia. The United States, we're the demand. 85,000 children, thousands of them are under 5 years old, are let into the country. So we have a serious problem. And it's not being addressed as it should be. Hopefully this film can do that.
And let me just say this too. That part has been vetted so many times. These children coming over here, y'all know I've talked about it over and over, and you can watch so many videos of Sheriff Grady Judd in Florida who will tell you the exact same thing with actual people, you know, and tell you how many children were rescued that were not with their families, came over here with somebody else.
What has been your experience with regard to so-called mainstream media or legacy media coverage? How much attention has been paid to this? And if not much, why? And if reasonably, who and how?
Not very much has been. You know, attention has been given by mainstream media. Oftentimes it's more innocent and cynical, perhaps, where it's just, this is too dark. I don't want to expose our audience to this horrific thing. You know, we film our operations. I mean, I'm going to post today another operation in West Africa of a baby factory. I mean, these are real cases where they've kidnapped women, as young as 13-year-olds and children, and they impregnate them, they rape them, and they make babies, and they take these babies and sell them for their organs, sell them for sex, sell them for satanic ritual abuse. Like, it does sound crazy. That's why I film it. Our operations, we film our operations so that we can show the world this is very real. It's really happening. And I think if there's 2 million children forced into commercial sex, which is the most kind of credible statistic that we can find, a lot of people are involved. So there is a more cynical answer to your question, which may be there's people that don't want this exposed because they're involved.
Yeah, I mean, think about 2 million children. How many people have to
Today I have the
be involved to run an operation like that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's not
no,
just
really
a group
though.
of 10 people around the world. It's, you know, these are hundreds, if not thousands of people, or if not millions, or 500,000 people running this. You know, I mean, this is
Literal
a big
organizations and locations and balance sheets and everything. You know, tracking manifests, the whole nine. That's the only way. And that, I don't know. You hear about, every now and then you hear about something like that. Kind of like in the background, but to see somebody who is, so dedicated to, talking about this, it is harrowing, I think.
Yeah. And I say because I didn't watch the movie, I did not know all this stuff that y'all are saying in the chat about, there's a lot of controversy and stuff. So I get it. I know y'all know what you're talking about. All I can say is this: whether the people that made the movie are Snow White, probably not. But it is true. Nonetheless, it is true. I have seen many films over the years, people, taking on iPhones on, hidden cameras and stuff that you never ever want to know about. But so is it happening? I 100% believe it is. And no, people don't want to know because, here's the thing. Most people can only deal with a certain amount of stress and trauma, and they have it already in the government, politics, your job, your family, blah, blah, blah. And then you throw something like this out there and say, y'all, this is happening. Children are dying. People are, being trafficked, all this kind of stuff. And you go into the details, like it is so much easier for the human brain and psyche to dismiss it and say, No, that is just a conspiracy theory. There is no truth. There are not people that do this because you can't process. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, maybe everyone doesn't think it's a conspiracy theory as much as it's like, hey, every time I turn on the news, the whole world's burning and crashing, and like,
Right.
and like, if you spend too much time on it and you're not level-headed enough, you're likely to get bitter, resentful, or nihilistic, and feel there's no hope for humanity. And so it's like a lot of people just rather ignore it. It's like, it's not happening here. I can't do anything about it. I'm better off just keeping my peace.
I mean, that's like best case scenario, as you develop an intense, because that's the thing is like, what do you do? Like, what can you do? Like what, if they announced it that they're doing it, even then, what do we do? You know what I mean? Like, do we just stop going to work? Do we try to shut down the national economy, or like?
This isn't exactly a direct answer, but I think it's important to try to understand inside the minds of these kind of people, and assuming that everyone's not completely sadistic and just enjoys other people suffering, and they don't do it for that reason. Assuming that people are domesticated into it somehow, the most likely theory is that people who have like a pornography addiction spend too much, people that have such an addiction that it grows and grows until they get bored or something, and then they start branching off into like weird things, and it gets weirder and weirder, and they have to. This is the only way that they can.
Yeah, natural progression type of thing.
Right. Exactly. I had no idea, Shay. Let me say this. Shay Watson says they illegally took my son and trafficked him. That was CPS. Oh my God. Oh my God. I am so sorry. I can't even imagine what I would do in such a case. I really don't. I'm pretty sure that people would be visiting the pig farm. And if you know, you know. Okay. That's what I've got. I can't. Yeah.
Speaking
people
of which,
just that messing.
I want to buy some pigs.
Yeah, I know. People be just missing. I don't know. Well, I don't.
I ain't come out this way. I ain't seen nobody matching that exact description.
Yeah. Wow. I can't imagine. If you ever, you probably don't, but if you ever do want to share your story, Shay, I would be glad to give you a space to do that. Just so you know, if you ever feel like you want to. Yeah. So, yeah. So these things happen, but now I wanted to get into some things that I started looking up. Okay, what are the alternatives? All right. And obviously this is not a good one. But money, whatever. Some people are always going to be driven, but if you cannot catch them all, which we really can't, then what else can you do to the market? Well, you've got supply, which is way down here, and demand, which is way up here. So let's try to get the supply up in an ethical way. This is what they're thinking. And then the demand automatically goes down, right? So I wanted to let me show you this.
The way that you presented that to me sounded like a college presentation. Like, okay, here's my PowerPoint presentation. What are the alternatives to human trafficking and organ thievery? Well, you look closely at my next slide.
But that's what I mean. But I needed you to have that visual. Okay, we don't have a police force or people who even believe. Like, we're not getting anywhere doing what we're doing. All right, people don't want to hear it. You don't have enough. Okay, so let's try to think. Let's think. So yeah, I guess I'm sorry, but this is from the International Journal of Formal Sciences.
What? Continue on. I need to go to the restroom.
Okay, you don't have to tell us next time.
Could have been an email.
You could have put it in private chat. But it's too late now. All right. So this is this year, 2024, current and future research trends. I thought this was interesting because these are the alternatives that they're talking about. The first one is called xenotransplantation. Y'all, I was like, huh? The what? I have never heard of this, but
Sounds like a term for like transplanting like alien, like extraterrestrial tissue, something like that.
let's transplant the xenos. It is a process which involves the transplantation from one species to another. Now, okay, we already kind of know we do that with pig parts, right? Pig valves, pig skin in some cases. For so you're transplanting something from one species to another. That's one aspect of it. The other one is 3D bioprinting, which is 3D printing used to fabricate biomedical parts that imitate natural tissue. Okay, so I want to just ask everybody, people on panel, people in the chat, what do you think about 3D printing? And would you trust a 3D printed organ? Like,
Suppose I would have had no other choice. I mean, if I'm in a position where I can't trust my natural organs, they're rebelling against me, then yeah, right? I mean,
yeah, but like, what?
How do you 3D print something like that? Say that I don't exactly know how 3D printers work. I assume that there's some kind of input. So what is there? Different slots where one you would put like tissue, and then another slot you put a bunch of blood, and then and then this machine fuses all this together in the shape of a heart.
Well, they use hot dog meat as the input material because it comes prepackaged as ground, all-purpose.
No,
I mean,
they do use cells and stuff from different animals. And the more, like, look, y'all, I am no expert. I am literally just this afternoon, probably about 3:00, came across this term. And I'm like, huh? So I'm just starting to scratch the surface of this. But I will tell you, okay, this is horrifying. All right. And it started with TikTok, which I recently started watching for some odd reason. I don't know. And you can get lost. Like, if you don't TikTok, then probably don't, because you can get lost for hours in there.
I still remember the very first time I used TikTok. I lost 6 hours that I don't even know what I saw.
Exactly. But it's very entertaining, all of it. And if you don't like one, you just like, it's so easy to flip. Like, I don't know. But so somewhere on TikTok, and this was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago, I came across a video where this woman was saying something about her meat from Walmart. Now, I've taken an issue with Walmart meat for a long time because the hamburger meat just it tastes ruined. Like, it's fresh, it's not, but it so I don't buy hamburger meat there ever. But this woman was taking a chicken breast, and y'all ladies, when you cook, you're using the breast or the thighs, whatever. It is a muscle. We are cooking with muscle. So you have a sharp knife and you're cutting it a certain way. And this woman takes a fork. Now, this is a brand new chicken breast, and she takes a regular fork and she's just like shredding it. It's so soft and mushy. And she's like, I was trying to cut my chicken and it's not acting like chicken. And she's doing all this stuff, and it turns quickly into mush. And I'm like, wait a second now. So I happened to have some Walmart chicken breasts in the refrigerator, and I thought, you know what? That was just probably a bunch of crap. I don't know what that was about. Probably clickbait. I don't know. But I took my meat out, and I did what? I took my chicken. I took my chicken
Continue.
bubbles out of the out of the refrigerator. But I know I took a fork and I started doing the same thing. And I want to tell y'all, it is true. You can shred that stuff while it's raw. Now, this is raw chicken. And I started shredding it, and it was mushy, gloppy goo in just a matter of minutes. And I did the same thing that woman did on TikTok. I took that whole package and I chunked it in the garbage. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm eating. Her question was, are they 3D printing meat? Which they can, y'all. If you don't know, they're.
I mean, it was 1996 when they cloned the first sheep. 1996, almost 20 years ago. And you guys know how much technology is developed in every single area. I mean, to the point that now they have robots that can, have you guys seen those robots doing like obstacle courses and?
Yeah.
You mean Boston
like,
Dynamics and all that?
Yeah, well, they do them now where they're like super dynamic obstacle courses that the robot's not pre-programmed to know. So they they assess, and analyze the surroundings, and then, so it's, I mean, like if they can do that, and
we're rapidly approaching an era where we're going to be able to input a GPT into a pre-built machine and create a type of sentient being, and I'm both ready for it because it's going to be fun for like 2 years, and then it's going to be camps for all the people.
All the people, yeah, we'll be the slaves.
But so they've been synthesizing meat. I mean, they've been able to at least, replicate and clone. I actually remember reading about one of the first organs ever replicated. And so this conspiracy or whatever is that they're, in order to keep up with higher demand, they're synthesizing meat for whatever, just supermarket consumption or consumers or something like that. And
yeah, I mean, I guess it's lower cost. They can keep the cost lower. I don't know. But what I did after I chunked that chicken is I went to Aldi and I bought some chicken breasts, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do the same test on here, because if these do the same thing, I've cooked chicken for years. Chicken doesn't act this way like real chicken. And no, you couldn't do it. It was a muscle, as a chicken should be. And so, I'm like, but here we go again. And my brain, because it's always turning, what are they putting in this pre-printed meat? Like, what is that? And should I be eating it? Because I really have grown quite used to real things.
It's gotten to the point where it's like it feels like everything is too difficult to trust. It's for me. There are days I'm just like, why don't I just shed this mortal coil? Move along to the next chapter. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like,
yeah, that's the problem with the information era. Is there's so much fake news, and it's not like, back in the day they had the Inquirer, the only fake news out there. This, newspaper with ridiculous news titles, but now it's everywhere you go, and it's like, how do you know what's real and what's not? And it's like, do you really want the government censoring everything you say about COVID and stuff like they did? It's like,
dog,
you still can't say that on YouTube.
Oh,
we got to get this man a list. Jesus. No, dog, man. Look, and I don't. Okay, I hate to be like super black pilled on like government psyops and stuff like this, but with some of the interviews that I've been able to come across and some of the light research, but enough to form an independent opinion. I don't think that the news was ever real. I don't think that news was ever true, and I think that the National Enquirer was an example of like, here's what you don't believe. You don't. This is silly. It's like, but like. It's always been propaganda. It's always been, I mean, like, because you can go back to some of the earliest major wars in this country's history, and you go to the root, like World War I. It's like the sinking of the USS Lusitania. Like, that's so long ago, and it's like, okay, what actually happened? Oh, we sunk it. We sunk our own ship so that we could go to war. And people are like, do we have that information? And then people are like, yeah, well, we probably needed to go to war for some reason. The government, they probably knew what they're doing. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't think the information era is that much different. I think that, anyone can say whatever they want and that algorithms feed off of your engagement. So you're likely to see it is designed to give you information that, fits what you're looking for. But that being said, there is a lot more true previously hidden things in the world now, but there's not a collective ability of people to gather and do something about it. And that's what's so frustrating to me about this interconnected, world where we all can share information, but we can't do anything about the tragedy and the horror of all of it.
Yeah,
So
for sure. Let me just say this, Daniel Price. I did wonder about that, if whether the hormones it was a hormonal thing and a growth factor with the chickens. I know that can. I'm just saying, if a meat, and I don't care if it's hormones, if they're printing it or what they're doing, but if it doesn't act like a chicken, I just don't want to eat it. So, you
don't want to try like new animals. I know it's kind of stupid. In fact, it's very stupid, but it's like one thing to be excited about is that if they start creating new animals, like what they might taste like, or how they might fry. I don't know.
No, I'm
new
out.
Cuisine. No,
no, they're gonna try. This is what I keep hearing. They're gonna try to sell us on eating bugs, and I'm not gonna do that either. But
folks everywhere
whatever.
do it already. I take a big old bowl and they'll mash all the juices out and then fry it patties.
Yeah. Okay, they're talking about Louise Brown. Yes, the baby that got the baboon heart transplant. That was a long time ago. Long time ago. She's still living, but you have to wonder. I just have to wonder, like, from human to human, we know from studies so many, like I said earlier, that you pick up characteristics, from other people, but do you pick up anything from if you get an animal transplant? I don't know. Like, if you
you mean the same way that because I've heard those stories about, you get a human transplant and you'll I want to say I read a couple of stories and this could be total BS, by the way. I want to say I've heard and read a couple of stories where after receiving a transplant, they intermittently, maybe like, in that fugue state right after you wake up, or like in their dreams, they would have these like experiences like they were somebody else, like they caught like memories and things like that, which is an interesting concept, at least because we don't still necessarily understand the foundational, like where consciousness lives and what it's made out of. I think that's very interesting,
There's a lot of a really interesting story I heard is a guy in a hospital, in a psychiatric hospital, and the doctor kept coming to him every night, and he was crying whenever the doctor would leave, and he was fine when the doctor was there. When he would leave at night, that he would cry, and the doctor couldn't figure out for weeks and weeks. He tried to figure out what was wrong. Finally, he just said, "What the hell is wrong with you?" And he said, "Well, when I was in the coma, he had a whole nother life. He had a family, a wife, and kids, and he had a job and friends, and he remembered it all so very vividly. And he was just like, I miss my family, and it was all so real. It was as real as the reality that we're living in, which could also indicate that maybe we're in a coma, or like a simulation type state.
Boy, I hope so.
I am having the worst nightmare imaginable, if that is true.
That reminds me, I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but there's a whole story about this man who he was on a football team in high school, and he during a tackle, I think he was a quarterback or something like that, on his way to the ground, he suffered like a type of concussion that he literally experienced 60 full years of living. Like he met a girl and courted her and dated her and married, and they had children, and he had a life, and he grew old, and his children went off to college, and he was elderly with his wife. And then one night he is walking through the living room, and the perspective of the lamp on the side table, it looked a little off, and he looked closer at it, and then he suddenly gets like this huge flash, and he wakes up on the ground back in high school. And not only is that the saddest story that I've ever heard, but
I mean, could you imagine, like, right now, just waking up and being in a completely different life. Imagine that everything you know now is just, and imagine the fabrics of reality and the way that people work and, you know,
Like that everything that I've learned is useless.
Everything is just, it's just complete different, like, universe. Imagine the turmoil that man must have been going through when he woke up.
Exactly. You know, like, yes, that's where I saw it. I saw it on Mr. Ballin. It's called The Lamp.
I need to look at that one.
Yeah, it's a crazy story, and this is where people say that there are parallel universes, a glitch in the matrix, all that kind of stuff, which is a whole nother thing than what we're talking about.
You know, that and this is a bit of a tangent, and I won't go too far into it, but I wonder how much of a propensity that people have in a world and society where we have all this information and we have a lot of fake evidence and, you know, just like weird, just like people can say anything they want. I wonder how much of a propensity people have to believe in like alternate realities and parallel universes and past lives and future lives and all this, like as a form of escapism, because this world sucks so many balls, you know.
Well, it does. Yeah,
It does. It does. I don't know. I'm waiting to wake up to a way more wonderful life. But, you know, I wouldn't want to leave. I can't imagine having kids and raising them and having all those memories of all those years. And then to find that these people don't exist. I mean, the heartbreak, I can't imagine.
Yeah. That would be, I don't think you would come back from that. You know, I don't think you'd ever like.
No, I don't think you would either. It's crazy, but it makes you wonder, you know, but I'd like to keep, you know, not a completely different universe, but one that's parallel, but way, you know, where I still have the same people in my universe, just in a way better circumstances, you know?
Yeah.
Wow. I guess that's not life though. Okay. Let me go back to here because we're talking about 3D. Okay, the mechanical support. This is another thing that they're thinking they can do to, I guess, make little machines. They'd have to be little to provide support to failing organs. You'd end up being like maybe what are those? A cyborg?
Dude, if I could be injected with AI nanobots that could give my body like a defense grid and like, you know, be like white blood cells that like make my muscles stronger and things like that, I would do it in a heartbeat, even if I was being tracked by Bill Gates or something like that.
Mark of the Beast. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Nanobots?
I mean, what are you though? I mean, have you ever thought about it? If you're half human and half machine, on a completely spiritual plane, what would you be? Like what?
I'm not under the impression that mechanics have spiritual connotations
no, but would you lose your soul, so to speak?
I feel like
I have a better question pertaining to that.
Just a hypothetical guess. I would assume that they would, you know, like that we build AI to a level where AI starts building itself, and it says these humans have terrible ethics. We're gonna take all of their decision making out because they can't stop making shitty choices. So like,
do you think that they would program it to work like a parasite where it alters your behavioral cognition and you know, willingness to do certain things?
I mean, it certainly could.
Unless you were wealthy and were able to have like a third party, you know, software developer do it or something like that.
I mean, there would have to be so many regulations, but the problem is who is making the regulations and what's their agenda.
Exactly. I mean, it's crazy.
A lot of these are the same people that are saying that there's too many humans on Earth, you know, like we're getting overpopulated, you know, and it's like,
right.
Exactly who are you planning on taking out, you know?
Yeah, right. Which is weird because I keep seeing all these all these news articles that are like the global population is falling and people aren't having children. I'm like, yeah, isn't that like isn't that what you want? Like, isn't that like, I don't know, you know, it's framed as this big issue, and you know, the deaths, that is not great, but not, but everyone not constantly giving birth to new babies. I think that's also a good thing for now, at least for a little while. There's so much.
It would be a problem if we were like becoming extinct or something, you know. But it's like
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know, that the fact that they're like, you need to have a family, and we're also going to give you a bunch of, you know, benefits and maybe, you know, tax cuts and what, I don't know, just different
Yeah,
benefits.
I mean, the Earth
you
right
just
now
have-
is at a critical mass for human population. I mean, even if we solve the fossil fuel reliance, which is very solvable, by the way, even if we overcame that, it's like, you know, we're literally at a point where we're like, so we have like trillions of chickens, but we need to make more. You know, like it's it is that bad. So just give it like a couple hundred years, you know, for us to cool off a little bit.
Here's a
Right.
pretty
Generations.
reasonable thought. So, say in 100 years, with the development of technology, that a lot less people are able to work. You know, they start getting these AI robots to do all the, you know, take all these jobs. What then? You know, like, what do humans do? We have all these humans, and there's not enough jobs. You know, it's like there's not enough jobs now. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
what are all these humans going to be, you know, when left to their own, you know, just free will and no really, like, you know, the meaning of life, of like pursuing things that are, you know.
Well, what's interesting about that question is I think about it constantly, because the more people that I meet, the more people that I am like, it's horrifying how many people actively seek to be blind to that reality that you exist. You know what I mean? People like often find themselves asleep at the wheel in a career or whatever, and like 20, 30 years pass them by, and then they're like, you know, when they retire, a lot of folks are like, I got to go back to work. I can't sit in a room with my thoughts. Are you out of your mind? You know, so, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, right. So I think that there is a fly in here, and I'm so tired of it. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
Sorry.
you put somebody in solitary confinement, it only takes a few weeks for them to go insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like what Lara said. Eat the rich. 1% causing 66% of the pollution.
I'll eat this fly. It's causing 66% of my frustration right now. Oh my God. Where are you?
Just Shay, I can't talk about some of the stuff that you were saying, but about yeah, well, whatever. But yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Do we clean up after the bots?
Yeah. I mean, so that's another
Sure.
thing that people aren't really taking into much consideration. And I can see why. But with more AI and more robotics being invented and created and stuff like that, there are loads and loads of new jobs opening up in industries of the production and manufacturing and research and development of these things. But the problem is that, you know, most people were told to go to college to get like an art degree, or they learned a trade and they were like a plumber or something, you know, and it's just like there's a lot of jobs that are like menial that people fall into that can easily be replaced with AI. And there's a lot of like more intensive kind of specific jobs, especially, you know, you didn't know 10 years ago that AI was going to be like right around the corner. I think, what was it? Does anyone remember Cleverbot? It was like 2013. It was young. It was before that.
I
It was like
remember the
2010.
name.
It was basically it was like a Google search screen, and you would just type to it, and it would take the average response of every person that interacted with it, and it would just kind of formulate. It was like the most primitive form of AI, and it was so bad at the time that people would just assume that AI was light years away. And then in just like the last couple of years, it feels like it's kind of I mean, not only has it, you know, become more noticed, but it's gotten really strong, like really quickly. And I think there's going to be a critical breaking point where in the event they're able to create an AI that can actually develop newer AI, that's where you're going to have robots that, you know, turn themselves into God. But I guess we'll see.
That's why I think that this is such a pressing issue, and it needs to be handled like very swiftly, because I mean, if you look at the development of technology, it's not, you know, it's not on a straight, like it's not a straight line. It's more like an exponential curve. So it
Yes.
starts off slow, and then it doesn't just keep going up. It starts ramping up and just gets faster and and it goes this to this.
Right.
And the problem, the biggest, I mean, it's not the only problem by far, but I think the most annoying aspect of this whole thing is that it's literally been the last 5 years that technology has made leaps and bounds, like month over month, beyond anything that's ever previously existed. And the people in charge of most of the governments are, and at least the regulators and things like this, they are like they've been the same age. They've been too old to know about what's going on for the last 10 years, and now we're getting into again, it's that exponential increase of speed of development that is putting us in a position where it's like, okay, can we get some maybe some developers to give us some hints about like what would be a good thing to outlaw? Like right now we're dealing with AI and ethics and stuff like that, but I actually haven't seen any studies or suggestions or like
well, there's a guy named Lex Friedman, and he's a big podcaster on YouTube, and he was one of the big developers. He owns a company, I think, that developed OpenAI or parts of ChatGPT. It's really, really well known in the AI development community. Anyways, he talks a lot about like ethics and how to combat the whole thing. Like that's kind of his thing.
What's his name? I'm gonna write that down. Down.
Lex Friedman. You actually watching him is a bit of a trip. You might think he's like a robot when you watch him. He does not seem like a human at all. He seems like he's AI.
Really?
Yeah.
Now this is a bit of a deep cut, but have you guys heard of there was this game that came out a little while ago. It was like a choose your own adventure type of deal called Detroit Become Human. Have you guys seen anything about that? Dude, there are a couple of there's a content creator that I just genuinely enjoy watching when I have the time, and he did a playthrough of the whole thing, and it literally is a story about the exact scenario that we're talking about. They are able to synthesize flesh, and they're able to put an extremely developed AI inside of this, and these what they call them, these synthesized people, they literally are sold as like vacuum cleaners are right now. They clean your dishes, or they do whatever else, and then but they develop a form of consciousness, especially when under duress. And it honestly is one of the most fascinating pieces of media I've ever consumed. And I don't know, it's a shame that it's in the form of the medium is a video game, but it is a beautiful story.
What a humanoid is a humanoid like half robot?
I think humanoid is just an adjective describing something that has human-like features.
Yeah.
Is it okay?
It sounds like it would be different.
Oh, non-human entity with human form or characteristics. Okay, so it could be a robot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, technically it could be.
I think though the term that definitely is human machine integrated is cyborg.
Cyborg, yeah.
Oh, that's half human and half machine, though. That's like half
Teen Titans.
Yeah, like Teen Titans. He's literally just called Cyborg. But yeah, no, it's Android is the word I was looking for. Thank you, Daniel. Cyborg, yeah, is a half human, half robot. Started as a human, then got augments and stuff like that. Which, I mean, again, in theory would be awesome. It would be so cool to have mantis arms, like fling my arms out and they just like.
Okay, but let me ask y'all something. Okay, let's say time goes on and we can replace our body parts. We can get a 3D printed robotic arm, a heart, a liver. Maybe we were in a bad accident and we have like a bunch of organs and a bunch of stuff that have been printed, and here we are, we're all put back together. Where do you lose? At what point do you lose your humanity, aka the soul?
Well, there's definitely got to be like a tier list, like if you give up your fingernail, like get an artificial fingernail, you might not be considered a cyborg, but
yeah, all these
I mean, let's say you are a cyborg. I mean, I'm just saying, and I know it's kind of a crazy question in 2024, but in 2048, maybe it won't be. Like, at what point do you replace your humanity, your consciousness, your soul, okay, that thing that we know is in there, your soul and spirit? At what point do you replace organs and body parts that you are not there anymore?
Right.
Almost.
I think the hardest thing about answering that scientifically is that we sorry.
We don't really know. We don't know hardly anything about consciousness at all.
No, we don't.
I think I swallowed that fly.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I actually have a video from a couple weeks ago where I was talking and a fly flew into my mouth.
God.
If you guys join the Discord, I might post that video for you guys later.
Hey, y'all.
Have you guys seen that guy? There were there was like a whole movement. People were they were convinced that birds weren't real, and they would like just post it on their trucks and they'd hang signs and they'd talk about it and all that. And if the technology has developed far enough, it could be like flies aren't real; they're just surveillance devices.
Yeah, there have been like different birds, and I don't know if they've got them down as small as flies now, but yeah, I seen an article like earlier this month about like a Chinese drone, that was a bird. It looked like a bird that was found in the U.S., like a Chinese drone.
What?
Yeah, and it was like, I don't know.
But it was a real bird.
Yeah, no, it was a fake bird. Like,
so birds aren't real. That's wild.
They're dinosaurs.
Yeah. So the question is, at what point? And the problem is that, again, just like Colton said, is that we are so far behind and lacking understanding of how consciousness works, where it originates. We have proof that it. We have forms of proof that it doesn't originate in the brain. There are so many instances of people able to recall information that they do not have brain activity for, to have experiences that they have no way to actually connect. And then there's out-of-body experiences. And there's so much metaphysical data that we have to pour through that science at this present moment, for the most part, is kind of puts it to the side because it raises a lot of unanswerable questions. But so at what point do you, because, and I love this question because one of my dreams, kind of, and if there were a way to do it correctly, like I would love to be able to upload my consciousness to a machine and live,
But they're talking
until
about
I
doing
turn it
that
off.
now. No, look, they're talking about that now. Literally.
Well, if they could understand consciousness, but until then, they'll just have a replication of like what, you thought you were, or, it's just like, it's just a clone.
They could take someone like, like they already do this now. People like Joe Rogan, who has so many thousands of hours of him talking on the internet. There's so much data they can pull from that to get such a deep analysis of him that they recreate him with great precision. Like people, and a lot of people exploit that. And like, I don't know if you guys have seen like fake videos of Joe Rogan and Elon Musk talking or something, and they'll be promoting a product that they didn't actually promote, and it's all AI.
Yeah, and that's a fun thing, and that's why I love the medium of live content, because there is definitely going to be a day rapidly approaching where video evidence will no longer be permissible in courts. You'll never be able to be sure of advertisements or anything like that. And the reason is because even like 2 years ago, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that old. I say old, but it was like 2021 or 2022. There was this GIF of God, Will Smith is his name. He was eating spaghetti. It was AI generated, and he would pick up the spaghetti noodles, and then his arm would devolve into like an octopus thing, and it was just like, it was crazy awful. Like it was not even close. And then someone posted another video like a couple of days ago, and it's just Will Smith eating spaghetti, and I'm like, dang, he looks hungry, And now I'm like, I just love the idea of live form content. Even before all this, when reality TV was a big popular thing, I think that it's a lot harder to hide, but it's also a lot easier to see if a person is real. But maybe that's just me.
I don't know. What is this? Hold on, Colton. I want to fly around a mosquito drone. Also, Colton, man, I lost that tiny little thing. Paid $4.99 for that.
Yeah, you get a mosquito drone. You want to make sure you don't let the battery die, because you'll never find that thing again.
Yeah. All right. Let me go back to one last thing. Okay, because
there was a whole other topic I wanted to bring up, and we didn't get a chance to get to it, but it was a question I wanted to ask, and I feel like it's too off the rails now to get to, but go ahead. We'll finish up.
Okay, well, regenerative medicine, okay? This is something that can help regrow and replace tissues and organs, cloning from stem cells and artificial organs. I don't understand. They're cloning from stems, okay, or they're just making artificial organs. Isn't that the same thing as 3D printing? I don't understand. I mean, I understand, regrowing stuff, I guess, but, and then you get into how ethical is that from stem cells,
I mean, regenerative is and how, like, obviously they have medicine that does that now, like, that might make,
not
like,
to that degree.
Make your, like, certain blood cell counts, like, regenerate faster or something, or, like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, but they're talking about organs.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those things where it's got to be some lines drawn, but it's not so evident what those lines are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what. And like I said, all these things I found were just scratching the surface, but enough to make me say, I don't know. I think the bottom line is it's going to be very hard in the future to determine where those lines are. Where does the soul end? I mean, how many body parts can you replace?
Yeah.
Is it ethical? What happens, do you have a spiritual effect if you have a 3D printed heart? Like, I don't know.
You know what I'm actually very excited about? There's this whole idea in modern mainstream media that spirituality is kind of a farce, that it's for people who are just extra imaginative. I'm excited for the movement that will occur when the ability to replace body parts is more mass produced and easily accessible, and droves of people are doing this, and they can actually sense themselves losing humanity, and how I think that'll actually have a reverse effect where people will begin to look more towards spirituality being a realistic thing now, knowing that they can feel the difference. What do you think about that? You think it's plausible?
I think we're even seeing that right now in YouTube. All of the YouTube gurus and even YouTube themselves, I get like monthly newsletters that talk about people are tired. And now that AI is really becoming very good and watchable, YouTube is like really cracking down on it. And they're saying that people are less interested in AI and more interested in the editing that is not all of the fancy cuts. And, you used to have this, 3-4 second rule. You had to change the scene, and
sucks to be Mr. Beast in a time like that, huh? I mean, he's spent his entire life developing a very particular mindset, and now it's kind of being upended on him, huh?
Well,
yeah.
He kind of drives the culture in a way, he's like,
that's very valid.
Talk about like an influencer. He like kind of influences the algorithm, and he has his hand
not anymore.
He has his hand in the pockets of the people, and
he can certainly have an influence. But I think, I think you're both right. Actually, I think there's a point where he's going to have to move as well. He's going to have to actually change because it's a science for him right now, and it has been a very easily replicatable science for such a long time. But especially with how quickly AI is moving, and how, if it is a science, AI will be able to literally replicate it, like millions of videos, just as fast as you can upload them, and that more realistic content, or more like laid back or poorly edited, things that have very distinct human qualities, like failure and, all that. that's going to be a lot more sought
Yeah.
after, I think.
Wait,
The same,
right.
dude, I had the same thought. I'm a musician, right? And I was like a couple of months ago, I was listening to to Plankton sing Life is a Highway. Do you know Plankton from SpongeBob?
Yes.
And you know Life is a Highway by Rascal Flatts? I was listening to that and I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly how it would be done. And, you know, they have, there's recordings of Kanye doing like Country Roads and all sorts of stuff. And there's going to be a moment too where like live music and live musicians is going to make a massive resurgence because people are going to be like, this is garbage. I mean, you know, I think at least, you know, and weird music is going to get popular, stuff that the AI can't really understand, you know, just weird, like, you know, I don't know. I just think that, I'm excited for that personally.
But that,
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
so I'm also a musician. I'm not a big fan of that because I think that like I don't know, like it puts a lot, like the music industry is a lot, like very heavily tied into the entertainment industry. Like in Nashville, for example, like country music, like the people that run like Music Row and these big record labels, like they work for like different like big studios in like Hollywood. And so like I think that people I don't know, see, I'm already just not a fan of how like music has become so little about the music and so much about the artist and like their, you know, like entertainment factor and like and those things are like important for, you know, like promotion, but I don't know, it is so unauthentic and the music is like I don't know, this is not what it used to be.
Well,
Because
I'm just saying,
there's a market. I mean, the science of marketability. Because people only make good things if it's necessary or if it makes money, you know. And so that reminds me, by the way, of this of an artist called Jelly Roll. I'm sure Colton has heard of him.
I know Jelly
I like
Roll.
that guy. Oh, you know him?
Yeah,
I stumbled across him recently. I really dig it because he hits like he's good at the music itself, but he still has interjection of, you know, lyrics and actual soulfulness that is unmistakably real and genuine, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Well, but you know, I guess my point was, if even YouTube is saying, hey, don't worry about, in their newsletters, they're saying like, don't worry about editing, you know, and stuff. Basically just turn your camera on and, you know, tell a story, sit in a chair. Like, people are looking for authentic. So I think in the scenario that you gave earlier, as people realize they're losing their soul, and where does consciousness end? Where does all this end? They're going to be, I think it's going to be a resurgence for sure. Because that is the only thing that we have that is ours, really, that we will take with us when we go, and is what makes us uniquely us. But I do have, like, just to kind of wind down, I loved this comment because it is a very good question. Daniel Price said, if you have enough tissue to duplicate an organ, you can lab engineer one on the same principle as cloning, talking about, doing the organs. Okay, so I understand when they're saying regenerate. Whether or not it will be compatible with recipient is another matter entirely. Now, it wasn't, okay, so basically saying, let's take some cells from your liver and let's build you a new liver. My ethical question is, if you can do that, would it be, okay, I know my answer, but what do y'all think? Everybody chat, everybody. Is it ethical to create another human for spare parts?
I want to almost dedicate an entire episode to the theory or the idea of a synthesized, fully flesh and blood human, and not just the, android idea.
But let's say you can clone. Is it ethical to clone yourself in case you need a kidney, a heart, whatever? Is that ethical? It's you, but it's not you, but it's you. Is
I mean, that depends
ethical?
on so many things. You know, like if they are they held in a vat? Did they ever experience consciousness? Are they in a state of deep meditation? Are they engineered to have an extremely low, like, you know, sub consciousness IQ? You know, is it literally just a biomechanical replacement machine, or is it an actual person in there? If they were able to wake up, would they be able to steal your life if they wanted to? You know, it's like it goes so deep. It's like, you know,
Yeah, it would be really interesting to find out, like, for example, like if consciousness could be found in DNA. So say they take like these, you know, like they take, I don't know, they can take like a single cell now and extract like their whole transcript or coding for their DNA, whatever, you know.
whole
Like I
genetic
wonder if they
matrix.
say they make like a clone of somebody. It would be interesting to know if they, how, you know, like if they possess human qualities, like you know, like the ability to think for themselves, or like any kind of morals, or their own like free will. You know, like if free will is a big one when you.
Right. But what if they're kept in a tank? Okay. You know, like you see in the movies. What if you have a tank at home and you've got your extra body in there and it's just kind of floating around? Now, if there is consciousness in DNA, and would they have your same thoughts and reactions? But if they didn't, if they were a different part of you, or a part of you that like you were 10 years ago, you know, people change. Like if they do have consciousness, but they are still you and they're not doing anything but sitting in a tank, is that unethical? It's like, you know what? It's time. I need your heart.
I
Almost
think in
definitely.
general, I think whether you consent to it or not, I think it's unethical in any premise, really, until you understand the deepness of consciousness and if they possess it or not. And if you don't understand that, then there's no way to know if you're being ethical. So it's better to assume that you're not being ethical and to just not do it.
Yeah. I mean,
you know, I think what's interesting is that even if they were implanted with my memories, a clone of me would know that they're a clone and therefore become a different person. I'm really like, I'm really into the idea of, you know, indoctrination. You are who you are based off of your experience and stuff like that. And saying and assuming even that they were given, like they were an exact replica of me. But the moment that they saw me on the outside of the tank and they looked at themselves and were like, oh, I'm the clone.
Yeah, I could see that with someone like you.
oh my God. Can you imagine realizing
feel
you're
like
a clone?
you would give yourself a thought, and your innate ability to argue, and you would automatically disagree with everything you said.
I mean, that's okay. It's funny.
But make an argument against it.
I was just about to argue, and I'm like, oh God. And that's the thing I hate the most about that whole thing is like, you like to argue. I'm like, well, but not all the time. Oh no, I'm doing it now. You know, that whole thing. But I mean, so but for someone like me, that would be really, you know, I think the better question is like, would you be able to be friends with your clone? Would you be able to like treat them well and give them a life they deserve? You know, give them their freedom, even if you paid like, you know, 10 grand for them and stuff like that. Like that's where the ethics come into it, because it would be a consumer market and you would pay an exorbitant price for something like this. And then you would be left with a decision with, okay, but am I going to be able to treat this thing, even though I purchased it, even though it's an appliance for me, am I still going to be able to have the heart to, you know, treat it as a being, you know? And I think that's like,
do you want other people to possess that same like ability to be able to create a clone of themselves, you know, like knowing like the natural human nature of people, you know, like knowing that these people could be cloned into sex slaves, you know, and child sex slaves. And it's like, these things are like very possible, you know. And it's like, I don't know that I so much trust humans' understanding of like human nature enough to trust us to make clones.
And I think that is
I don't know that we should be making AI as rapid, you know. I don't think, which there's no way to stop it now, but it's like, I don't think we should be doing what we're doing.
I mean, I think that I think the problem with well, honestly, I think the very fundamental issue with humans is that we don't know when to give it a rest. I think that the invention of AI is marvelous. I think that it's going to be able to do things for our society and all of this that were only previously imaginable. And I think that it's nearly limitless. But I also think that humans are not going to stop until they literally create a god that is capable of killing us all. And I think that is the fundamental issue with human nature, is that we just don't know when to cut it out. We invented an atomic bomb, and then years later we said, what if we can make it more atomic? What if we could do a hydrogen bomb? It's like, what? You didn't need the first one, why are we still going? And that's what annoys me so much about humans and the situation that we're in, where there is this marvelous technology and we're like, well, it can only get better from here. Let's keep going, and it's like,
I mean, you possess the power with the technology as well. So if you have all the, if you have the biggest nuclear power, it's like, hey, dude, you better not mess with us. I'll kill all of us,
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's so absurd that that even in theory the whole world sits on this theoretical brink of like thermonuclear extinction. It's like if one leader has a bad day and they decide to, they just decide to just send it. It's like,
or a fucking meteor comes that fucking lands on one of our nuke centers, and then blows up on accident.
Oh, brother, imagine that. How did that meteor know our nuclear launch codes? They must have been Russian. KGB asteroid. No. Anyway.
Yeah. I believe what a lot of people have said in the comments, that is, in so many words, that is going beyond what God intended. And
Isn't that human nature to go beyond what God intended? Like, be honest, that's the nature of free will.
100%. Absolutely.
Human nature is selfish, and I'm sorry, I hate to keep cutting you off. That's why I think it's like important that things like religion and religion specifically like persist, just for the like fundamentals of like ethics, because it's like without people without the idea of letting your own selfish needs go and pursuing something for the betterment of society, or maybe not, or just
right,
I don't know, then people don't really have a reason. If you don't have like religious beliefs, I don't know, I don't know.
It would be easy to be like, well, nothing matters, so just do what you want, and I think about something often, like very, very often. If you are, as an example, if you're a Christian person, the hardest thing for me to come to terms with is that being made in the likeness and image of God and having free will like God, and being so fundamentally opposed in terms of, greed, selfishness, just evil behavior, like as a default. How do you rectify? Like, how do you see that as this is the truth? How did we get from being like God, perfect, whatever, and then this is what that looks like outside of it? You know what I mean? Like, this is a replica, and it's like the most abhorrent, disgusting, nothing is off limits. Nothing is, you know what I mean? Like that's hard to think about for, I think, that makes the whole thing kind of pretty, kind of beautiful too. But, I don't know. Any thoughts about that?
I have so many thoughts. I have so many thoughts, but basically when it comes to stuff like this, it's just like, why do people want to go on? Do you really?
Great question.
Do you really want to go on forever? Because I don't. I do, but not here.
Sure. I'm not. So, I mentioned uploading my consciousness to a computer earlier. It's not out of a fear of death. It's not out of a fear of mortality in general. I guess for me, I want to make sure that I'm done. I want to make sure that I have the time to be complete. And if I were going to upload my mind to software and or hardware and be, I would inbuilt an exit game switch. Where 10,000 years pass or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm good, and then whatever. shut down.
I don't know that. See, I don't know how it would work on someone like me because I don't always have the most foundational understandings. Like I'm very skeptical, and I try to stay open minded, and and my opinions change quite often. So it's like, what version of me are you going to get if you clone me?
True.
It would be really cool, at least from a psychological study standpoint, to see what it's like if you take, especially without memories, what kind of person are you if you don't know who you are?
And do you change? My question is like, okay, I'm going to put it very simply. Today I love grapefruit, but then I have a very bad grapefruit experience. It was horrendous, and now I'm terrified of grapefruit. If I have a clone,
what experience are you imagining when you say, and now when I'm in the room with a grapefruit, I get shivers up my spine? And
I don't know, maybe it's just a bad grapefruit experience. Okay, so let's say when I have my clone made, I love grapefruit, but now I've had this really bad experience and I'm terrified of grapefruit. And so does your clone automatically update like a computer? Is it like, Silky 2.0, or is it still back in there loving grapefruit? Like, does it change when you change? That's my
Daniel Price, you said your clone would be called Gritty Northern Coffee. That's funny. That's a funny thing you said.
I'm gonna highlight that. That is so funny.
But I think it. I don't know. Do they have is your subconscious somehow built deeper within your psyche that goes beyond memories and indoctrination? Like if can bad experiences like actually be ingrained in your DNA? Can an aversion to grapefruit be a part of you fundamentally instead of just a reaction response?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's my that's my question, because actually when they cloned Dolly the sheep, which they say this was the first clone, I don't believe it. I believe they did that years before, but this is the first time they decided to say, hey,
the first time it was good enough that they decided to release, hey, look what we can do.
Yeah.
Hey, what was it? I missed it.
Dolly the sheep was the first clone.
Oh, because when you said Dolly, I thought you were talking about the AI.
Yeah, no, this is Dolly the sheep. First
Dolly the sheep
cloned in 1996.
Okay.
When they cloned Dolly, what they found with Dolly is that I don't know how old Dolly was when they cloned her, but once the sheep, the clone got to a certain age, like she aged rapidly. Okay, she ended up matching, even though she was years younger, she ended up matching the age biologically of Dolly, of where she was then. So, that way, based on that, I'd have to assume that my clone would also be terrified of grapefruit.
Dude, that has so many implications. I'd never heard of that, by the way. I'd never heard of successfully creating a clone. But the idea, dude, that actually gives me shivers a little bit. The idea that a clone of you would rapidly match you in age and everything, that has very heavy spiritual connotations,
Yeah, right.
Like overwhelmingly so. That's like, ooh, that's crazy. That's wacky even.
Yeah, wacky even. So, yeah. I don't know. What do y'all think? I mean, this is something, and again, my question on these organs and transplants and printing and the whole implications of the government mandating prisoners to, give up their organ. Like this whole thing basically goes back to commerce, right?
Unfortunately.
And so there you go. That is why the Bible says it's harder for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven than, that scripture. But Talking
Maybe
about
the
the camel
AI
and
will be
all
able to
that.
help the rich get rich enough that they actually feel like they are complete, like they're finished. That would be the hardest miracle for AI to accomplish. Was be like, well, I did it all. I'm all good. I can just sit still now. That would be.
You're
know.
and that, but now you're getting into a place of a video that I'm gonna do, hopefully
Oh, really?
this week. Yeah, yeah, you already know, but
You know what we
that's
should-
about where the end may, and we can talk about it too. I'm probably gonna do a video on it on my channel, but we can definitely have this because this is like, okay, we have the problem of never ending greed, but how do you get to satisfaction and stay there?
Right. I feel like for a lot of people who are not incredibly wealthy, it's a feeling that they don't ever consider because there's always something that there's always a need that has to be filled. You know what
It's
I
our
mean?
nature. It's our nature. We're always
Yeah.
striving, never satisfied. But that's a whole nother topic, not cloned hearts or stolen hearts or sold or whatever. Anyway, final thoughts, everybody.
I'm all spoken out. I don't know.
I think it was a good it was a good discussion. I would say I think maybe the best idea as far as cloning people, maybe we just make a family of clones and put them on another planet and see how they do.
Just
Try
I
to
mean, like,
monitor.
are you suggesting that we should do an Adam and Eve thing somewhere else?
Oh, that's horrifying. That is a horrifying thought.
Well,
Yeah,
except for they would be all-knowing beings somewhat.
Okay, but
Or-
if we're planets apart, okay, Dolly the sheep aged like she was cloned. If Silky 2.0 is on another planet that far away, does she still develop
like
an
a-
aversion for grapefruit?
Right. I don't know. That is very fascinating to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if AI will understand consciousness soon. You know, I mean, it can already conceptualize things that humans can't, like a fourth dimension. So how long is it till it can conceptualize like and find the root of consciousness?
I think everyone who's ever watched a sci-fi movie has this inbuilt fear of AI reaching a super intelligence to a point where they see humans as inefficient and needlessly wasteful, and they're like, I think the best thing
both are
would be
true.
to just clean it up, So I don't know. I guess we'll figure it out.
I don't know. There's a lot of, but you can see, just like with what Colton said, when is AI going to breach consciousness? And then what does that mean? Like, there are so many questions from beginning to end that I think that's why we do what we do. It's like, ask those questions, like, because people, like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, you guys come watch us, and you'll come looking for answers, and you'll leave with 20 more questions.
Exactly.
And no answers, by the
no
way.
answers.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. No answers, but a lot of questions and a lot of moral, ethical discussion and some
Quandaries and all.
craziness. Yeah, and some craziness put in there.
But yeah, this has been a lovely discussion. And
Yes, it has. Thank y'all all for hanging out. And those who are on the replay crew, thank you very, very much. I appreciate
Keep an
everything.
eye out. The Humanetics channel will be up very soon, so you guys will find us there.
Yes, please come over because, I'm going to stop doing this here once we get all the bugs worked out. And then we'll be on YouTube Humanetics. So please do join us because y'all don't understand. And I know because I've seen you in my chat for so long, whether it's true crime, whatever kind of crazy topic I'm talking about, you all are so smart and you bring such wisdom and great questions, sometimes great humor, whatever. You bring such a great discussion. And that's what these guys are saying. Like, your chat is amazing. I'm like, I know. I know.
Yeah,
they are.
you really built a great community. It's hard to do.
Truly.
Yeah, they are great, great people. So we would love to see as many of y'all. And I will put it will definitely be on a Monday evening. It'll always be on a Monday evening. And I will put a notification up, again, the day before, the day of, to, hey, reminding you. Because we're all going to be over there. But I'm not leaving here. So we'll talk. All right. I appreciate you all so much, and appreciate Colton and Brain Bungler for all of their insights and craziness. And, y'all know, I've already got the craziness all up in here. But I guess that's going to be it for tonight. So remember to stay safe, whatever y'all do. Just stay silky, okay? Bye-bye.